Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Chang, and I'm the Deputy General Counsel with Tesla. I would like to thank Chairman Guerrera, Leone, Chairwoman Boucher, and the members of the Transportation Committee for allowing Tesla the opportunity to testify today. I'm here testifying in support of HB 7097. Tesla is an American manufacturer of electric vehicles with a mission to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Since inception, Tesla's plan has always been to first introduce high-end products with a goal to aggressively drive prices down. Like many products that you're used to, phones, TVs, computers, when innovative technology is first introduced, it's expensive. As technologies improve and as economies of scale are achieved, the prices will fall. Tesla first introduced its Roadster in 2008 with a starting price of $109,000. That was followed by its award-winning Model S and then its Model X, and those vehicles started about $71,000. Continuing its mission, last year, Tesla unveiled its mass market vehicle, the Model 3, with a starting price of $35,000, and that's scheduled to begin production later this year. Tesla and Connecticut share a common vision for electric vehicles. Through the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, the state plans to increase the number of EVs on the road in order to embrace a cleaner, cheaper, and more reliable source of transportation energy. But currently, even with these express goals, EVs make up less than 1% of all vehicles on Connecticut roads. If given the opportunity to sell its cars directly, Tesla expects to significantly impact the state's own energy and environmental objectives. And we see this as Tesla being easily able to double the amount of electric vehicles on the roads in the next year and a half. HB 7097 is not antithetical to dealer interests. And I want to be especially clear on this point. Tesla is not out to overturn the franchise system. Automotive franchise laws were enacted decades ago to prevent a manufacturer from directly competing with their own franchise dealers. These laws were created to protect the GM dealer from their sole supplier, GM. And HB 7097 does not change this. It's the same outcome. Tesla has never had any franchise dealers, and these laws were never intended to block new business models or market entrants. And HB 7097 allows all parties to coexist. Tesla's presence also affects jobs and economic activity in very positive ways. Tesla purchases millions of dollars in parts per year from Connecticut businesses. We've opened a service center in Milford, a gallery in Greenwich, and those facilities have injected millions of dollars in direct economic activity and generated up to 25 jobs per location. With supercharger stations sprouting across the state, we're also investing in the state's EV infrastructure. Opponents of HB 7097 argue that Tesla customers do not have the same consumer protections that they may otherwise have. To the contrary, Tesla operates under the same federal and state regulations that govern consumer protection. But Tesla actually goes beyond mere compliance with its laser focus on customers, and we have the record to prove it. Consumer Reports scored Tesla highest in customer satisfaction among all dealerships and repair shops, whether franchised or independent. 91% of Tesla customers would buy another Tesla vehicle from the company. That outranks every other brand. Tesla has set a new bar for customer service in the auto industry, and this is good for Connecticut consumers. The FTC has even opined on that manufacturer direct sales would only benefit consumers.
Jonathan, I'm going to have to ask that you wrap it up.
I'm wrapping up. There simply is no justifiable reason to exclude manufacturer-owned and operated stores. Whether your policy positions are for clean energy, free enterprise, American manufacturing and innovation, jobs, economic activity, or consumer protection, HB 7097 is on the right side of all of these. For all these reasons, Tesla asks that you support this important piece of legislation. Thanks for the opportunity to testify. I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. I know this bill has been in front of us for a couple years now, and I'm definitely an advocate of Tesla, advocate of free enterprise in regards to what your corporation, the vision is in regards to coming to our state here and having the opportunity to maybe open one or two franchises, or stores I should say, not franchises. In a climate that, here we are trying to promote businesses, this is an opportunity for us to grab our hands and wrap ourselves around something so good like a Tesla vehicle that so many of my constituents keep asking me, why is it I have to travel out of state to purchase a vehicle? In fact, I had two of them that just purchased one from my own town, Rocky Hill, and were flabbergasted when they say, why is this happening? Why do I have to go to New York or Massachusetts? Why won't you allow this to happen? And I tried to explain to them, the circumstances and so forth. But this is about innovation. Tesla has their model. This is the way they do business. And I think it's a good business model in the way I look at it. And it's that it allows a corporation to do business in a way that maybe doesn't want to do business in certain other ways. And, we're going to hear arguments, obviously, on this bill from both sides of the aisle, as you know, Jonathan.
Yes.
In regards to the franchise and so forth. And listen, there's no way you're going to tell me that 2 stores are going to wipe out an industry out there. It's just not going to happen. Not all my constituents look for Tesla models. Most of them are GM, Ford, whatever it may be. But the most important aspect about this is having the opportunity to purchase a vehicle in the state that provides jobs and brings tax dollars to our state. And we have lost that over the years. And it's time to regain that. So I know Representative Wilms has a few comments he would like to say. Senator Boucher, you're all set right now?
For now.
For now, okay. Representative Wilms?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chang, for your comments. I'd like to echo many of the chair's comments. 2 years ago, when this came up, I was a very strong supporter. I'm a real believer in. I've noticed over the last 2 years, more and more Teslas are on the road here in Connecticut. I really like the charging stations that are a lot of on the interstate rest stops. I really think electric cars are the wave of the future. And to your point, I understand that many of the auto dealers here in the state have significant concerns. I used to work with the automotive industry 15, 20 years ago, and I get when these franchise laws were written back in the 1940s or 50s or 30s. If you're a Chevy dealer, the entity in the world that you were most scared of, that you were most concerned of, was your own manufacturer, right. General Motors. Right. You weren't concerned about other competitors or other companies. But, this is now 2017. So I really think it's a new world. Your company represents, along with other electric car manufacturers, the wave of the future, and I continue to be a very strong supporter and concept of what you're trying to accomplish. I do have one question, though, and that is, I know there's 50 states in the United States, and we all have our own various laws regarding auto franchises. My understanding is, and could you go into this, is that Connecticut has one of the most restrictive of all the 50 states. Could you comment on that?
That's very true. Connecticut is one of the restrictive states. And when we look at it broadly, Tesla is an international company. We sell cars around the world. We actually don't see this issue, this requirement to sell through franchise dealers anywhere else in the world but within the United States. So let's exclude now the rest of the globe and focus on the United States itself. Tesla is prohibited now from selling its cars directly in 4 states. 4 states in the U.S., Connecticut being one of them. So it really is an outlier in this sense. Within the Northeast, it's the only state that is prohibiting it. Customers right now go to all the bordering states around Connecticut to complete the purchases of their vehicles. Those sales are being allocated to New York and also to Massachusetts generally. And there are some other states that they may solicit those sales depending on the customer as well.
Well, and I think that's a very important point, because I think sometimes here we can, as we're making laws, as we're looking at things, it's easy to have our mental frame of mind stop at the state border. We're just operating in our own sort of universe here, and to your point, you're talking in a much broader universe, including our neighboring states, New York, Massachusetts, where they have different laws different from us, and where you're able to sell. And yet, there doesn't seem to have been, with the automotive dealers, there hasn't seemed to have been some sort of apocalypse that I'm aware of, or maybe you're aware of. Could you comment on that? I mean,
that's exactly right. Connecticut wouldn't be pioneering this idea of allowing manufacturers to sell direct, right? It is an outlier in the sense right now. So we have many examples in all the surrounding states, and states around the country and in the world that exemplify how these ecosystems can work, how manufacturer direct sales can actually coexist with the franchise dealer system. And has there been, are dealers going out of business as a result of Tesla selling direct? No, they haven't. I don't think you'll have any dealer out there that'll claim that I'm going out of business because Tesla has the ability to sell direct. That's simply not the case. I think what we've actually seen in these states is a general rising tide of the entire industry. Tesla is an innovator, right? We've introduced new technologies into the industry. We've changed the business model of selling cars, but what this really does is lift the entire industry. This year, what you've seen in Detroit at the Detroit Auto Show is a lot of talk about some of the technologies that Tesla has already introduced in its vehicles, right? You've seen real many OEM manufacturers now adopting electrification of their powertrain, their fleet. They're now adopting autonomous vehicle technologies, right, and putting efforts toward that. Connectivity of vehicles. These are all things that exist within Tesla right now. So it's increasing competition. It's bringing better products to the market, and this is what's being demonstrated nationwide in every other state in Connecticut. It really is not putting franchise dealers out of business.
So if I hear you correctly, and I'll just wrap up, what you're proposing sounds like it's win-win. You're not coming here to be against anyone or to hurt anyone. And from your experience in the other 46 states, and even selling internationally, that hasn't been your experience. Where because you show up and you're allowed to sell, that there's a lot of wreckage with the automobile dealers in other states or other situations.
That's correct. So we haven't seen that at all, and in fact, just the opposite, right? Like I can speak for myself, right? I work at Tesla. I don't drive a Tesla vehicle. I cannot afford a Tesla vehicle today. I have a reservation for Model 3, and I'm excited to get that vehicle. But I do believe in electric vehicles, right? And I drive a Prius. I own a Prius. My wife drives an electric Golf, and a Volkswagen Golf. We've gone to dealerships to buy those cars. And it's because Tesla has changed the image and changed the focus of consumers that it is possible, it is a viable option to have electric vehicles. And what this does is raise the entire tide for the industry, right? We're not about taking sales away from the franchise dealers. We're not saying the franchise dealers is a bad model for vehicle sales, right? What we're trying to do is grow the entire industry. And franchise dealers have benefited from the work that Tesla has introduced into the marketplace.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chang, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Let me go to Senator Boucher, who has to go to a screening meeting, I know. I would like to say a few comments, then go to Representative O'Day.
Thank you very much for your testimony. No question, this area has gotten, and your company gotten quite a bit of press and attention on many different levels. There is some concern, and I wonder if you're at liberty to comment about the dealerships making certain statements about Tesla inappropriately selling vehicles in Connecticut before this legislation, and have pushed that quite strongly. Do you have anything to say on the matter?
Yeah, I do. I think what the dealers have been attacking, and there's lawsuits that are filed by CARA and then also with the DMV regarding this issue. And the reference is to a Greenwich gallery, a gallery that we opened recently on Greenwich Avenue. And the issue at stake in that litigation is not about what we're talking about here in HB 7097. Here we're talking about sales. In that litigation, the issue at stake is what Tesla can do within that gallery. And our position has always been the gallery is there to display vehicles, to educate consumers about Tesla products, and this goes beyond electric vehicles. It goes into our solar products and our power pack and our energy storage products as well. But it's to educate consumers about what it is to live a sustainable life, right? And this includes electric vehicles. But what you absolutely cannot do in one of these galleries, and CARA has sent secret shoppers in there, and they've tried to test this, and these folks are well trained and they understand what the limits are. You cannot go into the Greenwich Gallery and purchase a vehicle. There simply is no sale that can occur within that gallery, right? And so that's what's at stake within in the pending litigation. What we have, I was at Bradley International Airport recently. I came out in the baggage claim area, and if everyone have been there recently, it looks like a car showroom today. Like right now, I see Jaguars, Maseratis, Fiats. They're all lined up, brand new cars, right? They have their Monroney stickers on them. They have all these ads posted, stuck onto the side of these cars, and I'm not attacking that, right? Like, I love cars. These cars are beautiful, and to me, they're works of art. So they make the airport look nice. But I can tell you for a fact that I don't have any expectation that I can go into the baggage claim area at Bradley International and walk out with a Maserati, right? Even if I could afford one. There is no sale occurring in those types of galleries. None at the Bradley International, none on Greenwich Avenue at the Tesla gallery itself.
Thank you for that clarification. Do you think Tesla will come out with a driverless car, since that's one of the other topics we've been discussing?
I do, and we've put a good stake in the ground. Right now, the vehicle technology as it exists today is a driver assist system. We call it autopilot, and it is the most advanced system in the market today. It's done some extraordinary things. NHTSA, National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, has taken a look at kind of the performance of the current autopilot system, and even as a driver assist system, they've taken a look at the data and they've said the incidence of serious accidents has decreased 40% when autopilot is engaged in these vehicles. You know, and to me, that's impressive. If you can drop the rate of serious accidents by 40%, that's something that the community needs. That's something that our consumers need, our customers need. That's something that the public should embrace. And we hope, and we've put our stake in the ground. We want to get to fully autonomous vehicles. We want that rate to get to 100%, to avoid 100% of serious accidents. That's the goal of Tesla. And that's the goal of the autopilot program, is to save lives and to increase safety on the roads.
Thank you so much for that. Certainly, it does open the door for great possibilities for those that have mobility issues. It certainly could address a lot of our impaired drivers' issues, for sure.
For sure.
But just because there's a lot of fear out there regarding this, someone would be in the driver's seat, and would be manual override, correct?
There is at this stage, and especially with the autopilot as it's required today. We always talk about this with our customers on the proper usage of autopilot and its correct capabilities, right? And its current capabilities. And that always requires a driver to be present and actively alert. And there's safeguards around that. It's actually one of the important things when you think about Tesla and being able to communicate the high technology that it's pioneering. One of the things we see from customers is they want to hear this directly from the manufacturer, right? When you insert a franchise dealer into the middle to help communicate this message is lost. You're playing telephone. There's an intermediary in the place, right? And you miss the very important nuances of introducing new technology. Our sales outlets, they're out there for education. They're out there for customers to walk in, for us to demonstrate autopilot's capabilities. But that doesn't occur within a franchise system, right? That doesn't occur without Tesla being there to educate customers about its technology.
Thank you very much for your answers. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Chang, for your testimony. A few brief follow-up questions. So as I understand it, there's no other direct sales litigation in Connecticut other than, or what are the direct sales litigation in Connecticut right now involving Tesla?
There is no direct sales litigation, right? It's a different issue. It's the issue of what is Tesla able to do under current law, right? I think it's clear that the DMV has taken the position that Tesla cannot be dealer licensed and cannot sell. Now, what can we do up to that point? And how can we market our vehicles? Can we educate consumers about the vehicle? That's the litigation that's pending.
And so, in looking at other laws, so there's only 3 other states besides Connecticut, as you said, and none in New England. What are the other states?
Texas, Michigan, West Virginia.
What's the Virginia laws where you're operating stores in Virginia, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
What kind of a system is that?
Virginia has, I've reviewed these statutes in 50 states, right? I've been actively involved in this for quite some time. But Virginia has one of these statutes that requires a public interest. It's a public interest exception. It says the manufacturer can sell if it's within the public's interest. And the DMV commissioner has determined on the last occasion that that it is in the public interest for Tesla to open its second store. And so that's under construction right now in the Richmond area, and that's our second facility. There are rumors that go around the nation, and I think they're spurred by auto dealers, that we've agreed to some kind of compromise or some kind of transition period, right? There's this rumor that Tesla is capped at one store. It's false, right? Our second store is in progress right now, is under construction, and we're seeking the license to get that store licensed. And then there's also a rumor that at some point in time we're required to transition this business to a franchise dealer, and that's simply false, right? That's something that we can't even physically do. It's not something that is a turnkey operation, and tonight you are owned by a manufacturer, tomorrow you're a franchise dealer. Our entire system is set up around direct sales. It's what our consumers want. That goes from no inventory. That goes from how manufacturing is set up, because every one of our vehicles are made to order. It goes to our accounting systems and how our financial systems run. Like it is a big lift to be able to convert an overnight and say, I'm going to transition this over to a franchise dealer. So that's simply not the case. There is no timeline. There is no requirement that Tesla in Virginia at some point in time in the future transition over to a franchise dealer system. It's not something we've agreed to.
What are the number of Tesla vehicles in Connecticut now? Do you know?
In Connecticut, there's almost I think it's 1,300 Tesla vehicles. And that's actually an impressive, when you think about the numbers of electric vehicles out there today, 2,000 electric vehicles on the road, 1,300 of them being Tesla vehicles, and we can't even sell here, right? And I think the Connecticut has some extremely great policy about getting more electric vehicles on the road, and Tesla wants to help achieve that.
Well, I heard that you do not have a Tesla.
I do not.
And I don't either. I have a Ford Fusion hybrid that I enjoy.
That's great.
And I've had bought it now, 2 of those vehicles. So I guess, I was very proud to work with the leadership here a couple years ago. We got the Tesla bill, the direct sale bill, through the House. I think it was 143 to 6 or 144 to 6. Mm-hmm. And then it stalled in the Senate. I won't cast aspersions on the Senate, my Senate colleagues that are here, but they clearly dropped the ball. But look, in all joking aside, I know there's a lot of dealers here. And during our hearing that we had a couple years ago, I'm not sure, Mr. Chang, if it was you. I don't believe you were getting questioned at the time that I was asking the question about how big do you see Tesla being before they go franchise? And I know, I'm sure I know the answer to it, but can you understand how the dealers, they've had to operate under the franchise model, and now to simply come in and allow this little boutique or small dealer or small manufacturer come in could adversely impact the model they've been operating under, and they've invested a lot of money in. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question to you is, you're not adverse to the franchise model in the long run. Potentially it's something you could go into, but as I understand it, in the short term, it just doesn't make sense for Tesla. Is that a fair summary?
It doesn't make sense for Tesla today. It's something that we can reevaluate, and we'll always, at Tesla, we always approach things from what do our customers want, what do the consumers want, right? And the reason that we engage in direct sales is because this is what our customers are telling us they want. They don't enjoy the franchise dealer experience. It needs to be something different. And they need to be educated about electric vehicles, better educated about electric vehicles. The franchise system today is not providing that. There's 33 vehicle models. Kara says that they sell 33 electric vehicle models through their franchise dealers. But yet the numbers speak for themselves. They have 33 models. Tesla has 2 models, right? The Model S and the Model S, and they're at expensive price points. But yet we make up 62% of the electric vehicle sales here in Connecticut. I think it's not happening. Franchise dealers are not selling cars, the electric vehicles, to the market, not in the way that Connecticut expects them to, and not the way that that aligns with Tesla's mission as well.
Going along the lines with your mission, how many stores does Tesla have in Massachusetts, for example?
Stores and service facilities, we have 5 locations in Massachusetts.
And how long have they been in existence?
I believe they've been in existence since at least 2012, so 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Maybe longer.
Do those stores sell anything other than the Teslas, or do they sell solar and battery products as well?
There's nothing in the stores yet, but that is Tesla's plan, right? So Tesla recently acquired Solar City. A couple years ago, it launched its energy storage business, and that's ramping up. So these products are expected to be within our sales outlets, and it's a holistic approach, right? Tesla has this view that it's accelerating the world's our mission, right? Accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. And what this means is not only consumption via electric vehicles, but also generation, solar panels being the sustainable energy generation, and storage, which actually enables the solar energy to be stored and actually used. If you imagine the overall image, it's driving home in your electric vehicle, right? Plugging in to charge, you'll receive the energy that was charged into your battery and your storage system from the solar system overnight, and then you'll be back with zero emissions, completely clean cycle coming out the next morning. Right. So that's the strategic plan for Tesla. That's what we envision the world to be. I think it aligns with what Connecticut envisions its own world to be. And that's what we want in our stores. We want the ability to be able to educate consumers on that sustainable lifestyle and how it makes sense for them.
As I was researching the current state of Tesla, I went through some litigation and whatnot. My understanding is you've negotiated with other car dealers in other states in coming to resolution, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I'm hopeful that in Connecticut, that you're going to be able to work with the Connecticut Automobile Dealers Association as well. I pride myself in taking after the leadership here in transportation in trying to convince the parties to negotiate, because I assure you, you know your positions much better than us, and in all due respect to my colleagues, the politicians don't always have the right answers. So hopefully that you'll be able to negotiate with the dealers. And my last comment, unrelated to your Tesla or the Tesla, is I found out as I was researching the boring concept that your chairman has. Yes. And people laugh when I ask the question. I asked this question 2 years ago about what it would cost to bore under 95. The speaker had a problem getting down. It took him, it was over 2 hours to get from just outside of Hartford to Fairfield County because of the traffic.
Yeah.
And I know your chairman is looking into seriously the improving the boring capability and that technology. Yeah. And people laughed at me 2 years ago. They're probably going to continue laughing at me. But I would like an opportunity, not now because we get very busy, but I would like to meet your chairman, and I'd like to talk to him about boring under 95, because figuring it out, because people laugh, but I think that's a solution that's shorter term than spending 20 years and $20 billion in widening 95, and it's a disaster in Fairfield County. So with that last statement, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time. I know we're busy, but thank you for coming in and testifying.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Representative O'Day. And I won't mention anything about people laughing at you, Representative O'Day. Jonathan, I'm going to hand it over to Representative McLaughlin, but just answer me just a quick couple of questions here.
Sure.
You have stores in Virginia, correct?
We do.
You have stores in Mass?
Yes.
You have stores in New York?
Correct. Many.
All right. And how long have they been there?
They've been there for at least 2009 is probably our first entry.
So then answer me this. Has any dealership failed because Teslas are in those locations?
Zero.
Zero. Have any of those dealers have record sales?
Yes. That auto industry market is only growing, and dealers are selling more and more cars every day.
Okay. Thank you for that. Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chang. It's been an interesting debate to participate. I think this is the third session that we have wrestled with the question being, is it appropriate for a car manufacturer, in this case Tesla, to sell its products directly? And for me, this argument breaks on philosophical lines. At what point is the government being too intrusive when it places stopgaps between two independent parties for participating in the free market and exchanging goods for capital or services for capital? So, but without
plugging my opinion on the matter. I do want to continue to get some more information and jump into that discussion. So I do have a few questions for you. Yeah. My first question, what other states, and I think we touched on Virginia, and so perhaps we can talk about Virginia. Mm-hmm. What are the statutes in place in the states that Tesla is allowed to sell directly? And what does their language entail? Could you speak to the process in passing that legislation?
Yeah, so there hasn't been actual legislation passed or not passed in Virginia regarding this particular issue. The statute's formulated right there. They allow a public interest exception, is the thing I was speaking about earlier. The DMV conducts a hearing, and
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. What was it called?
It's a public interest exemption. And so manufacturers are prohibited from sales unless it is in the public's interest. And so the DMV commissioner will hold a hearing. They'll consider all the different evidence and determine whether it is in the public interest in this given case to allow Tesla, in our case, right, to conduct direct sales to the consumers. And the DMV commissioner has recently evaluated that, and they've said it is in the public's interest, right? This is a benefit to consumers. I think what you'll see is across the board, consumers are wholly supportive of this issue. That it is in the public's interest and consumers' interest that Tesla be able to sell cars directly. And so they've approved that, and they've ruled that and deemed that in the public's interest. I think in many other states, you'll see different formulations of these statutes. Many allow it to coexist, right? The way that we've drafted HB 7097, I think, is a good balance of it. We're not trying to upend the franchise dealer system. What we're trying to do is put ourselves in a position of an OEM or a General Motors, for example, where they were faced at some point with a decision. Do we want to franchise our distribution model, or do we continue to sell directly? And they had an opportunity to choose, right? This is the free market. This is free enterprise. They had an opportunity to make a decision, a conscious decision for themselves a long time ago about whether to enter the franchise system, and they chose one route. Tesla should be able to do the same thing today, right? They should be able to choose which distribution system works best for them and works best for their customers. We've heard from our customers, we know what that answer is, and we're trying to push that distribution model and our ability to choose and have the freedom to choose and operate in the way that makes the most sense for our business and for our customers.
And I certainly appreciate that, being in small business myself. I'm curious, so just to make sure I understand this correctly, there's a public interest exemption, and that is overseen in a hearing that's adjudicated by the commissioner of the DMV. And this would be an exemption or a hearing process that applies to all consumer protection issues, or particularly of the auto industry.
Not consumer. It's specific to the auto industry.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. So this is clearly.
I should also say, Representative, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
That Virginia may not be like the best example. There's very few states that actually have a public interest exemption, right? But
Sure.
It's a catch-all, and it's a recognition that it may not be in the public's interest or consumers' interest to only allow for franchise dealer distribution model, right? And to have a monopoly for every vehicle car sale must go through a franchise dealer. That may not be the best case in every situation. And so I think the public interest exemption is really a recognition of that it's not a panacea. Franchise dealer systems does not solve everything that's bad about the auto industry and auto industry sales. There are certain exceptions, there are scenarios, there are situations where it does make sense to have direct sales.
Have there been scenarios where Tesla and auto retailers in certain states have been able to come to an agreeable compromise on a piece of legislation?
There are, but it usually involves Tesla to be able to operate with freedoms, right? And freedom to operate just as any other dealer. I think HB 7097 allows EV manufacturers, right? Something that's aligned well, I think, with Connecticut's policies on electric vehicle adoption. And what I want to, we shouldn't necessarily go down the path of, where's the compromise, where's the right balance and things like that. The way the statute is crafted today, it's not in a way that offends anybody, right? The franchise dealers today will continue to exist and actually will take the position that they will continue to succeed and only grow more and more with Tesla's presence in Connecticut. The electric vehicle adoption will proliferate, so that's a good thing. But what I think we should think about is the good, right? You have, if you believe that direct sales is good for consumers, right? If you believe that direct sales is good for electric vehicles, if you believe that direct sales is good for business and good for the economy and good for Connecticut, let's do direct sales. We shouldn't put any cap on that. It shouldn't be limited in any fashion. You don't need to compromise what's good.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. Chang, you touched on Connecticut, so let's talk about Connecticut. What are the plans for Tesla in this state in terms of job production, in terms of construction of facilities? What types of investments in terms of downstream supply chains? What type of investment does Tesla have in mind for our state?
Yeah, Tesla has a lot of great things in mind. I mean, we have our director of the Northeast sales here, and Jeremy Snyder, and he's pushing really hard to open the Connecticut market. Right, there's a big demand here for our products, and what that means is investment into the community. And I think the Greenwich Gallery actually speaks a lot to that. We've put millions of dollars of investment into an operation that doesn't see revenue, right? It doesn't generate revenue. It's there for educational purposes because we know there is an insatiable demand for our products, not just nationwide, not worldwide, but here in Connecticut, right? And we want to be able to educate consumers to that effect. I don't know how many other businesses would do this, but it's an investment, right? And it's an investment of millions of dollars into what we think is worthwhile within Connecticut. With the ability to sell, we would expect to open more stores. I mean, you can take other examples, neighboring states. You have Massachusetts, which is a small footprint, but it has 5 locations, service centers, and sales locations within the borders. As demand grows, we need to be able to satisfy that demand, right? So that investment only increases over time. And what that means is more than just investment and economic activity, but also jobs. Each one of these facilities translates into about 25 jobs per facility.
So, okay, so 25 jobs per facility. Could you help us understand maybe the net economic benefits of 2 to 3? Well, first of all, just for context, we can get, we can be visualizing what we might be expecting should this legislation move forward. What is the capacity for Tesla to build stores in Connecticut? How many stores could Tesla support in the state of Connecticut?
It's really market driven, right? And this is what's important, I think, about free enterprise is the market will determine how many stores you need to have, right? And if we look at it from our perspective, if there is demand for another store, we will open that other location. When we have more and more customers within Connecticut and there's a demand in a locale for another service center, we will open another service center. That's been our model, and we do this quickly to address the market demand. It's hard to say exactly what the number for Tesla is. I mean, if you look at the traditional OEMs today, right, GM I think has 60+ dealers within the state. Audi, Mercedes, BMW, they might have somewhere between 6 and 7 dealers within the state. So the models are different, right? But what we're asking for is the flexibility for Tesla to evaluate what it thinks is best for itself and what its customers are telling that they want, telling the company that they want. And it's that flexibility, I think, that allows us to innovate in our own business models and to help accelerate that transition to sustainable energy.
Okay, I appreciate that response, and that does make sense. I think one of my final questions would be, what are the tangible net benefits to the economy to the presence of direct car sales that Tesla will be permitted to engage in between income tax revenue to the state from employees to utilizing the robust high-tech manufacturing sector that we host here as being major military industrial manufacturers in Connecticut. If you could talk to us about and help me understand the net positive economic impact that Tesla's presence would have.
There's definitely a ripple effect, right? What I've talked about is kind of expanding. Tesla is out there pioneering innovation in technology and electric vehicle technology. And what that does is it expands the pie. It's not limiting the pie. It's not a zero-sum game of car sales, right? And so it really is a ripple effect. And it starts with a Tesla store that's able to sell direct, it has a ripple effect that frankly is a positive for other franchise dealers as they sell more and more cars. We've seen this in other states, right? And as you open more and more stores, that's jobs, that's income tax revenue for the state. More and more car sales means registrations within the state, and that's more and more sales and use tax for the state. I know these are expensive products, and tax revenue generated from vehicle sales is important.
I'm sorry, the gentleman sitting next to you, could you introduce yourself? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't even know you showed up, but this is Jeremy Snyder.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Snyder. I'm director of the East Coast for Tesla Motors.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. I saw you came over. Was that in response to our discussion, my questions on sort of the supply chain benefits in this state?
No, not in relation to supply chain. It was in the question around expanding our infrastructure in the state.
Oh, okay. Did you want to speak to that as well, sir?
I think Jonathan covered it.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
And I think my last question would be, so when can we expect an affordable economy car?
So the Model 3, right? I have my reservation down. It's a $35,000 car that's expected to go in production later this year.
Wonderful. And have you seen a sense of demand for that in our state?
Oh, an incredible sense of demand. So worldwide, we have nearly 400,000 reservations, and these are paid reservations for the vehicle, right? And within the state, it's thousands of reservations. And so I think it's important. We want to be able to educate the customers and actually transact here in Connecticut. There's thousands of reservations placed by Connecticut residents, consumers here in Connecticut that want to buy this car. And by the time it starts production and we start making deliveries, we want to be able to conduct those transactions here in Connecticut and not have these thousands of car sales go to New York or Massachusetts or some other neighboring state. They should remain here in Connecticut.
Thank you, gentlemen, for answering my litany of questions and comments. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time to ask those questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Representative.
We have a small list, so Representative Carney is next.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I did come in a little late, so I apologize if I do ask a repeat question. Just a few things. So you had mentioned that the Greenwich Gallery doesn't generate revenue. Can you explain how it doesn't generate revenue?
Maybe going a little too far. It doesn't conduct sales, right? Okay. So there's no sales component to it. You can't go in there. You can't buy a Tesla vehicle. So there's no transactions actually happening there. You can go buy a T-shirt, a sweater. So there is revenue, right? But it's nominal revenue to Tesla. But what we're looking for in our store locations, I mean, if you think about opening a store location, you think, how many dollars per square foot am I actually generating out of that location? In Greenwich, it's I don't want to just call it this because it is we don't want to necessarily just bucket ourselves into this, but it's a marketing exercise, right? It's a project and it's a facility and a location that is meant to educate consumers and to have them understand what it means to live a sustainable lifestyle and introduce them to Tesla and the brand of Tesla, right? But there's no revenue actually being generated out of that location.
I mean, are there employees at that gallery?
There are employees, but they're there to educate consumers about Tesla products, not sell them a car.
So they don't educate them on how to purchase a Tesla?
No, what they'll do is if you're interested in purchasing a car, they will refer you to one of our licensed locations, and typically it's in Mount Kisco in New York.
But you don't need to go to a location to purchase a vehicle. Am I correct in understanding you can purchase it online? Is that accurate or no?
That you can place the order online. Okay. That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Now I know in a state like Texas also only has these galleries. I believe I looked on the website. I believe there are about 5 or so galleries. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many? I mean, one would have to assume, like in Connecticut, Texas has a decent amount of Teslas. Mm-hmm. Correct?
They do.
So, I mean, one would have to think that these galleries are at least producing some sort of way for people to go out and buy a Tesla, right? I mean, they are sort of, I mean, I know you use the term gallery. I mean, they are sort of acting like a store, though, right?
It's like, not, in a sense they are, but the actual sales transaction is not happening in these locations, right? Okay. And I think that was key for the folks in Texas and their enforcement agencies have taken a look at it, and they've said that's okay. Gallery operations are okay, right? I mean, you can tie it to Ford or GM's or Toyota's commercials, the Super Bowl commercials, right? Are those resulting in sales? They may or they may not be, right? It's really hard to tell. But what the galleries does do, the gallery introduces consumers to the Tesla brand and makes them aware of what we have to offer, right? And it educates consumers.
Okay. Who does Tesla rely on to sell their product?
Tesla relies on several factors. It doesn't rely heavily on marketing. So you won't see big billboards or big television advertisements for Tesla vehicles, right? We rely on our technology. I think first and foremost, that the car is the best option out there and the best vehicle out there. There's a lot of media in the PR about the abilities of our car in the magazines and stuff. They've been reviewed very positively, and I think for good reason. And we rely on word of mouth. I think most importantly is our customers, right? They have great, exceptional experiences with Tesla, and they're willing to share that with others, with their friends and family, and introduce them to the Tesla brand and what it means to be a Tesla owner.
Do the Tesla owners that provide this word of mouth, do they see any financial benefit in terms of, not necessarily money, but in terms of something worth value from Tesla for providing that word of mouth?
They don't receive anything of value per se. Right, we do have. I think what you're alluding to, Representative, is a referral program, and there is a referral program, right? Like and what it is a thank you. We've heard from our customers, right? Hey, I'm out as an ambassador for Tesla all the time, and we talk about the car, and it's great, and I'm suggesting folks purchase it, and we send a thank you their way, right? And it goes. The thank you is a nominal thing. Sometimes it's a raffle ticket for some kind of prize giveaway or something like that, a nominal giveaway. And then if they have part of the referral program, I think is actually more catered toward that new purchaser, right? That new purchaser will have a referral discount of $1,000 because they come from a friend of Tesla.
So that referred customer is receiving $1,000 discount. So Tesla, one could say, is losing $1,000 on that purchase, correct?
You got to look at it holistically, right? So the idea is that if you have an ambassador, if you have a customer that's out there and that's spreading the word, and I think you'll probably hear from some of our Tesla customers today. These are strong advocates for our brand. And Tesla itself doesn't have to actually go out and conduct these sales. So I don't know what you mean by it's $1,000. Yes, it's discounted off the top line, but there could be savings on overhead and such like that for Tesla that make that savings justifiable, right?
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, just because one of the things I've been thinking about with the referral program is it does seem to me that the company, through Tesla owners, is in a way relying, to a degree, I'm not sure what size a degree, on outside salespeople. So would Tesla be amenable to allowing a dealer to refer a customer of theirs that says, well, I really want a Tesla, how do I go about doing that? Would Tesla be okay with saying, okay, if a dealer, say, a Chevrolet dealer, whatever, says, okay, I'm going to refer you to Tesla, would Tesla then, in the spirit of this referral program, provide some kickback to the dealer?
I don't know that we would make it an official relationship, right? Once you make it a franchise relationship, which is what the franchise dealers are asking for, we need the flexibility to operate our business as we think is necessary. And I think, but to your point, our referral program doesn't discriminate, right? If there is a dealer out there that owns a Tesla and wants to advocate on behalf of the Tesla brand and send customers in our direction, we'll offer that same $1,000 discount to that customer. That's part of the referral program.
But that dealer would have to own the Tesla. See, what I'm saying is,
that's how our referral program works today. That's correct.
Because I'm just thinking that if a dealer were to do that and were to benefit Tesla by referring a customer to Tesla to purchase that Tesla, that you're sort of removing any need for, I guess, a Tesla employee to try to, I know you don't like to use the term sell a customer vehicle, but it sort of takes away that need. So, I mean, I think,
it's not,
I don't know if, I mean, I feel like there's some room there
Yeah.
that could be.
It's certainly worth exploring, but to be honest, I've never seen an instance where a dealer has referred a car sale out of their dealership and said, hey, why don't you just go across the street and buy that Tesla? I haven't seen that yet, and if we start hearing that from customers and from dealerships, maybe it's something we'll take a look at.
Well, it's because there's no financial benefit at this time. So,
Exactly.
so it's just something to think about. Just a couple quick things. What, and I apologize if this was asked before, but in terms of competition, are there any other vehicle manufacturers out there that want to go through this, want to have the same similar business model that Tesla currently has with electric vehicles?
The only one that I'm aware of is a company called Elios out of and they sell auto cycles. It's this 3-wheel small vehicle out of Michigan, and I think they've actually given up on that battle for direct sales. So I'm not aware of any other manufacturers that want to do and enter the market with direct sales. In fact, I think the trend has probably been opposite. What you've seen from other manufacturers, other upstart manufacturers around the time when Tesla started, right? I'm talking about Fisker Automotive and Coda Automotive, and these are other electric vehicle manufacturers. They made the conscious decision that we want to sell through franchise dealers. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for them, right? That ended up shuttering their doors while Tesla is still here in existence. But they made that conscious decision. I'm not aware of any other manufacturers that want to pursue this route.
So Tesla, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So Tesla doesn't have stock in trade, correct? Like they couldn't say, all right, we're going to ship 10 cars to a dealer. That's where they are right now. It's sort of customer orders a Tesla, Tesla makes that vehicle. They don't make really any additional vehicles except for maybe what is offered as a test drive at a store. Am I right?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. There may be a few vehicles that are done into inventory, but the vast majority of our vehicles, if you go to our factory, it's quite impressive. You see every car that's coming down the line, right? You imagine this line, and every car has a customer's name attached to it. That car is dedicated for a customer. It's being built for a very specific customer.
Okay. Do you know of any other car brands that use a similar process? Any other high-end vehicles?
I don't. I mean, there are not as their baseline state of affairs,
Okay.
right? They will generate them. They will do custom vehicles as a special order item, but it's not their standard operation.
Because I'm trying to think if maybe Rolls-Royce or Bentley or companies like that might use that same business model, even though I believe they do use franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And just finally, I know there was talk last year that if the bill had passed, Tesla would be willing to put in a distribution center. Do you know if that is still something that's a possibility?
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. I don't know what the plans are for distribution today, but that's certainly a possibility. That distribution center, I think, is slated in the one that we were talking about last year. I think is slated in Pennsylvania today.
Okay.
And we put it there. Pennsylvania has been more than welcome to Tesla, and we're able to actually conduct sales there. But what we'll see is that these types of facilities, right, a distribution facility, a repair center, a store, these types of facility investments within a state follow where we're welcome within a state, right? We've invested heavily in Massachusetts in our facilities there. We've invested heavily in New York in our facilities there. We've invested heavily in Pennsylvania and that state. But our investments follow where there is growth and there is demand. And what we're trying to do is proliferate electric vehicles within Connecticut. And when we see that growth and that demand start to form and generate, we'll supply the resources that are required to satisfy that demand.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your answers, Mr. Chang, and thank you for testimony.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you. Senator Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chang, a couple years ago when I first learned of Tesla, I thought I had heard that the model that you're using for distribution that you would like to use versus the dealership model, that it wasn't Tesla's plans to have a dealership model down the road. Is that not true today? Because I thought I heard today was, well, if the need or we would need to reevaluate if the dealership model was going to take place. Is there something different
there's
than
no
2 years
concrete-
ago versus today?
No, there is no concrete plan. What we know today, right? I'll never say never because things can fluctuate, business demands can fluctuate, our requirements may fluctuate. Today, what we know is that our customers and the state of the EV industry today requires manufacturers to be able to educate customers through the process of what it means to own an electric vehicle. And that's important to customers, and that's, I think, important to the public generally. And what that requires is direct manufacturer sales. And so given the state of the industry today, and I think for the foreseeable future, we do see it as a direct sales model.
It almost implies with your comments there that the dealerships wouldn't be able to educate themselves to sell that to the consumer. I don't.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Well, it just seems like what you're saying here is that you would be marketing and you'd be you have to leave it up to the manufacturer to truly sell the electric car versus allowing the dealership the opportunity to learn about the car and to sell it. So I guess you're almost saying that they wouldn't be able to learn how to sell or enough about the electric car to sell it.
The best gauge of that, I think, is our customers, right? And they can tell us, how's your experience in going to the Chevy dealer and talking to them about an electric vehicle? And I think what we've seen, and you don't have to take my word for it, right? The customers have their own experiences, and you can also rely on Sierra Club study. New York Times has done their own studies on this. Academics have done their own study on this. What it means and the barriers that come into place with franchise dealers trying to push electric vehicles, what that means to the electric vehicle industry. And what you find among all these groups, right, Sierra Club, New York Times, academics, all these studies show that these dealerships are hiding the electric vehicles. They're dissuading their customers from buying electric vehicles. You could be positively enamored with that Nissan Leaf, and you go into that Nissan dealership and you say, I want to buy that electric vehicle, and they may dissuade you from it. It may not be fully charged. These are the kind of the examples that you see, right? And I mean, this is also reflected in the numbers. What I talked about earlier within Connecticut, 2,000 electric vehicles on the road. 1,300 of them are Model S's or Model X's from Tesla, and we don't even sell here, right? There's how many countless dealers that exist in the state today, and they claim to sell 33 electric vehicles, 33 different models of electric vehicles within the state. And yet they make up such a minor, less than 1% of the electric vehicles on the road. And that's disappointing. That doesn't meet Tesla's plans for the world. I don't think that meets Connecticut's goals for the adoption of electric vehicles. And then you translate that, it means they're selling 1% of the cars on the road today. That's a franchise model's market, right? You walk into a vehicle, where is their interest? Is their interest selling to you 99% of the cars that they sell and what's on that lot, or the 1%? And I think across the board, what you'll find in experiences from our customers and from these studies, these independent studies that have been done, is that franchise dealers are not able to pick up on customers' needs and desires for electric vehicles. They're not able to educate customers on that technology.
I'd like to perhaps see those studies
Sure.
because most of my purchases have been deals with, the value of the car versus the price and what benefits I get versus, based on the product. I go shopping for a Jeep Cherokee, and I'll go shopping down the road for the identical vehicle. But I'm sure when my daughter bought her Prius, they went shopping around and they compared apples to apples as best as they could. So,
Right.
but when it comes down to it, it's usually based on price when it comes down to the bottom line. I have another question regarding to the servicing of your vehicles. What percentage of the Teslas are recalled or have some type of service within 1 year? If you sell 1,000 units, let's say, how many of those, what percentage of 1,000 or 100, let's say, let's keep it simple,
Yeah.
100 are recalled. Is
Yeah.
it 1%, 2%, 5%?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sam, I actually don't have those numbers, so I don't know what the service repair numbers and statistics look like.
And my next question is, what's the repair time frame? So, or take me through the process. If I buy Tesla, something happens, explain to me what I would need to do as a consumer.
It's very similar to your experience today with your own automobile. we actually have more options, I think, to the consumers than your normal dealership, right? If you were to have a problem with your internal combustion engine vehicle today, you would be able to call your dealer and say, hey, I need to schedule an appointment. You bring the car in. Is the car even drivable to come in? Things like that, right? Tesla actually has various options available to it. Our technologies are connected vehicles, so we're able to push software updates to the vehicle. So if the issue with your vehicle can be solved with the software update, we'll do that. We'll do that remotely, and that'll happen overnight without you even having to lift a finger, right? You can do it the normal way. You can schedule an appointment with your service repair center and bring your car in for an appointment. We can schedule a valet to come out and pick up the car for you and bring it to our repair center. We can send what we call Tesla Rangers out to you, to your home or office, and oftentimes we can address many of the repairs remotely as well. So there are various options available for our customers.
So are we talking about a day, 2 days, 3 days?
It really depends on the issue.
Well, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But on an average, you know, I myself, I'm almost everybody in this meeting room here, we all need our cars as quickly as possible. So I live in Bristol, and if I buy Tesla out of state currently, and there is, you know, where do I need to bring the car?
Yeah. I've heard some really impressive stats. So Tesla is actually very cognizant of consumers' demands and their desire to be in the car. This is in many cases the best car that they've ever driven, and they're like, I want to get back in my Tesla, right? We offer loaners, of course, for it, but we are consistently, and there's a laser focus on this, is driving the turnaround time of repairs in these vehicles. And I think many of them can actually be addressed really quickly with the vehicles. And so we have customers that come in, and it's almost like a quick lane repair, where these repairs can be done before the customer has a chance to grab that cup of coffee in the waiting room. We've had instances of that more recently because there is a focus on making sure that we take care of the things that can be taken care of quickly, and if there is a longer lead time repair being done on a car, that gets its attention as well, and we turn around that as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have one quick question. I think Senator Linares, you said you had it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be quick. Mr. Chang,
yes.
Thanks for being here to testify. I just have a question about electric vehicle sales in aggregate from dealers. I think you touched on this, but wanted to see, do you have any information on how dealers have been doing in selling electric cars over the past decade or so?
The numbers, I've spoken to some of the numbers already. So today what the DMV reflects is about 2,000 vehicle registrations of electric vehicles within the state, 1,300 of them being Tesla vehicles. And so the rest being, you imagine that sales force, right, and how it's kind of, the balance is outweighed. We have 2 cars, right, versus 33 models. We have an expensive car versus some more affordable models. We have no sales ability within the state versus however many dealership locations within the state. And when you look at those numbers and you think, yet even despite all these barriers, Tesla is able to achieve almost 2/3 of the electric vehicle sales within the market, I would posit to say that the franchise dealers aren't doing their job in selling electric vehicles. I think this is also reflected in some of the manufacturers' sales. We've actually seen a decline in individual electric vehicle sales, both in BMW's i3 sales and also Mercedes B-Class sales. Over the years since that car has been first introduced, those vehicle sales have been steadily declining.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comments today. And
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.